Oh gosh, yeah. First one, of course, self-mastery. Self-mastery meaning caring for myself in all aspects, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, financially, all those different areas. Second thing is caring for other people. So truly, truly caring about the needs and fulfilling the needs of others, not just to make a sale. It's to really actually help change someone else's life. And then the third one, great question, I think it's daily routine. Do I have a daily routine? Because if I don't start my morning right, the rest of the day could just go downhill. So what are those daily non-negotiables that I put into place to keep myself sane?
Hello, listeners and community. I'm just popping on here for a quick second to ask you for a favor and some support. If you are enjoying my episodes and my podcast, can you please go and like and comment and leave a review? And most importantly, download the episodes and download the podcast. As well, you can head over to YouTube for Entrepreneurial Elevation, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as I'm attempting to grow my podcast and grow my audience. That would mean the world to me. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for being here and for listening. My goal is to impact as many people's lives as I can by creating as much value as I can. So the bigger the audience, the better. And as well, I wanted to also hop on here quickly and offer you a freebie to support yourself. So if you go into the show notes, you can find a link and click there. And I created a freebie called Laying the Foundation for a Financial Breakthrough with Your Mindset and Results. And it's a framework and a workbook that you can do to support you in getting clear right now on what are your values, what really matters to you, what are you internally inspired by, so that you can set goals for this coming year that align with your values. And then you can have a tool called the Definite Made Purpose Statement. It's taken from the book Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And you can use this tool to speak your goals and your values and the things that you desire into existence with the belief that it is possible because you say so. And then a self-confidence formula to solidify that belief that you can have, do, and be anything that you desire. So check that out. I created that just for you. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of my community and listening to my podcast. Like I said, my goal is for you to get value. So thanks for listening. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome, fellow entrepreneurs and goal getters, to Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing Greatness Within, with myself, your host, Kelley Beveridge, and my guest today and super good friend, Cynthia Chau Hoang. And I'm so excited to have Cynthia here. So I have my podcast. I have a lot of different people on, and I love all of my guests. Yet Cynthia and I go way back. We've known each other since 2007. We took a personal development course together, and then a bunch of us took the class and the series of courses, and we spent a lot of time working on ourselves together. And so we know each other really well. And we also went into business together and built a business together. We have traveled all throughout North America together. I've watched her go from working for someone else to being an entrepreneur to being an intrapreneur. She's always been a leader, yet she's completely just owning it now, which is just amazing to see because she's awesome. And I've watched her go from not having kids and not being married to being married and having 2 teenagers. So we just sharing that we've been friends for a long time. And I think it's so cool. And she's just that person you want in your back corner. She is a leader in the community. She's a leader at her church. She's a leader in business. And she's just always there for you. And just real quick, funny story before I bring her on. The other day, I literally left my house in my car, and keyless cars nowadays. And my car was sitting on top. My key was sitting on top of my microwave. And I got about 8 kilometers away to where I was going. I didn't have gloves. It's winter here. I didn't have the leash for my dog. He was with me. And I turned my car off and realized I was stranded. I didn't have my key. And who do you think I called? Cynthia. And she came and got me. So she's just that friend, right? But I want to also give her credit where credit's due when it comes to business. And so she's the director of sales and client support and a business sales coach at Certified Flourishing Coaching and Flourishing Workplace. She's been involved in personal development for a really long time, always working and growing, and then now coaching and providing personal development and leadership training for others. And she just is a leader, like I said, of teams, church, community, family. And so today we're going to talk about her journey and the journey she's been through from work to entrepreneurship to intrapreneurship, which we're going to talk about what that is, and just the lesson she's learned along the way about walking with faith. And when you look back, hindsight's always 2020, acknowledging where she's at and where she's come from. And so Cynthia, oh my gosh. By the way, everybody, also complete transparency. This is take 5 over the last few months. And we are here, and this is going to be a magical podcast because of what we went through to be able to deliver it. So welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Kelley. It's so funny. Oh gosh, the adventures we've been on together. It's amazing we're still here because talk about faith, right?
Literally, we have been through it. We've been through very, very big highs and very big lows and challenges and triumphs. And you know what, though? We're always laughing along the way and having fun and doing our best to enjoy the journey. And so I'm excited to bring you on and just have you share yourself with the audience because you're just a special person. And so, you know what I want to start with, Cyn? I want to start with, take us back to the beginning. Like, what inspired you to go into entrepreneurship? So what were you doing previously? And then how did you get into this idea of even being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, great question. Before entrepreneurship, I was employee, right? I went from gift wrapping to retail to being in the wellness industry, and those were all great. Yet I was always restricted to a time of day that I need to do certain things. And then it really took me away from my kids. And when I had kids, that's where the transition happened from being an employee to an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship at that time for me felt wonderful because I could have flexibility with time. I could have flexibility with when I want to do things with my family, and I could be doing it anywhere in the world. And so that's what really caught my attention, is being my own boss. That's the upside. Some of the downside is being really all about accountability to myself, right? And if I had a team, or when we had a team, being accountable to one another, because if we don't make those sales, we don't get paid. If we don't help enough people, we don't get paid. So that's the downside. Yet there's so many more great things about being an entrepreneur.
I love it. And you and I went into the entrepreneurial journey almost simultaneously. So just learning and growing how to go from being an an employee to an entrepreneur. And there is upsides and downsides to it. And there's a big gap of a learning curve there. What would you say were some of the initial challenges that you personally went through and professionally when you first took on the hat of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, biggest thing is mindset. Such a huge mindset shift, because as an employee, we have specific amount of hours to fulfill a week. And then we know that by every 2 weeks, usually that's when the paychecks come in, and we allocate the money. Yet as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to say, hey, I can manage my own time. I can do my own schedule. And then what happens is being stagnant can kick in, right? Oh, I'll do this later. I'll do that later. And then by mid-month, we're like, hey, the money hasn't come in. Shoot, what are we going to do with the bills? So it's a huge mindset shift of, like I mentioned too, the accountability to self.
And so, okay, so let's chat about that. So you're a mom of 2, you're married, you've got responsibilities. And I think this is super common, right? Family oriented people, either whether you start it as a side hustle and then eventually your side hustle grows so that you can exit what you're doing and be a full-time entrepreneur, or you just jump in. Yet the truth is you do have other responsibilities. So what are some tips you could give some of the listeners on how to juggle being a parent and having a family, and also making sure you're doing what you need to do in your business to put food on the table?
First and foremost is communication. Communication with the family is huge, right? Managing expectations and letting them know what to expect from me, right? Hey, mom is going to be away these certain times for these specific reasons. And then making sure that I do schedule time to be with them as well. Was I always perfect with that? No. Am I perfect with that now? No. There's still times I'm like, man, it's been a while since I've had a date with each kid and spent time with them, right? And I think that's the thing, is being able to manage my energy, not just manage my time, because we all have a different body clock, right? Some of us, we are more focused during the morning, some in the afternoon, some at night. So knowing when our body is most awake for the important work, so that we can spend the other time where it doesn't take a lot of brain juice to be able to spend time with our family and be totally present.
Yeah, it's so key. Hey, I think obviously as we've gotten older and had more experience, it's really learning like, one, we are in control of our schedules and we get to design our life. That is the beauty of being our own boss. Yet it's being really disciplined with that, with where we're putting our time and energy. So we can have it all. We can be productive in our business and we can flourish in our family life as well. And I'm curious, like, you and I think we're really blessed in our very first entry into entrepreneurship because we had, I believe, phenomenal mentors, right? That taught us a lot of principles and values that I still stand true and live with and lead with today. What would you say? So, you and I worked in a network marketing business. We had mentors that were at the top, multimillionaires, philanthropists, traveled. It really invested in us and our growth. What would you say are some of the, let's say, three key principles you took away from the mentorship we had?
Oh gosh, yeah. First one, of course, self-mastery. Self-mastery meaning caring for myself in all aspects, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, financially, all those different areas. Second thing is caring for other people. So truly, truly caring about the needs and fulfilling the needs of others, not just to make a sale. It's to really actually help change someone else's life. And then the third one, great question. I think it's daily routine. Do I have a daily routine? Because if I don't start my morning right, the rest of the day could just go downhill. So, what are those daily non negotiables that I put into place to keep myself sane?
Oh my gosh, I love it. And it's self mastery, be of service to others, and consistency with our daily success habits. So, you talk about self mastery. When do you think you realized that personal development and investing in yourself was key when it came to your personal and business life?
Interestingly enough, I know there's so many who are a bit further ahead than me, yet, I'll be 45 this month in a few days. It's December right now when we're filming this, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be 45. Yeah, I've jumped into personal development with you. We're in the same class and not a seminar. And that was I think over 14, over 15 years ago. So I saw the value back then, yet I don't think I actually completely could see the full picture of the benefits till now, right? I was walking through the process. I was working through all the hurts, pains, traumas, wins, challenges, all that stuff. Yet I think with age actually really comes more wisdom. And for me, gratitude for all the learnings. Because back then, 10, 15 years ago, it was just going through the motions, allowing myself to uncover and self discover. And now it's okay. Now that I'm learning how to remove the things and reframe the things that don't work for me, what am I replacing it with? So it's been quite the journey, and I'm just super grateful for it.
I love it. And you're changing your narrative. Hey, how important has your faith and community been with that process?
Huge, so huge. No one person can do life alone. And if you're out there and saying, "Hey, I could do things on my own. I could be well on my own," that can only last for so long. We actually heal in community. We grow in community. The right community, though. We are a product of our environment. So I always take a look around and understand that there's seasons in life. I know a lot of people get really down and out if, let's say, there's a falling out with a relationship, or there's a group of people maybe they've been hanging out with for many years, and it seems like everyone's walking a different path. And then they feel left alone and they don't know which way to go. Maybe they don't know who to reach out to. Yet I just want to encourage everyone to understand that are seasons, right? There's friendships that are seasons. There are some like yours and mine, Kelly, where I don't feel like it's a short season. I think we have many more years to add to our
Mhm.
friendship and our business life. Yet, yeah, it's just understanding that is so huge that when there's transition, don't make rash decisions either. Search for a safe community, build a wise counsel around us. Like for when we were in direct sales, absolutely our leaders, and I'll give Charlie Patterson a shout out, right? He's one of the most integral men I know. And that's the thing is he was a part of the wise counsel that I allowed to speak into my life back then. And now that season is finished, yet I still honor and respect him. Yet I have different folks in my wise counsel that I can trust when things get tough.
Oh my gosh. I love how you talk about it being wise counsel. And if you're listening and you're like, I don't have the blessings to have an actual real life person be that person now. You can set an intention to find one and put it out there. And in the meantime, you could find wise counsel. This is the beauty of life nowadays. Like I listen to podcasts, like we're on a podcast. You could listen to mine, right? But that's not a shameless plug, or maybe it is. Yeah, I listen to tons. It's why I got into podcasting, because I would listen to Lewis Howes. I just would fill my mind with wise counsels of people that I didn't know, but that I listened to every day because I resonated with their message. And there is people out there for everybody. And I love that you call it a wise counsel. Speaking of that, you are in a new season. The last 5 years, you're now with Flourishing, which is amazing. Abe Brown, who I know is one of your mentors now, and I followed him and he's phenomenal. Chat about a couple things, because I think in entrepreneurship, it is about being open to change as well. Both of you have left our last business and are doing something different. So talk about that transition period, and why are you choosing to do the work you are now that have led to you being in a place of intrapreneurship? And what is that anyways?
Yeah, thanks. That's such a great question. And I truly believe in walking by faith and not by sight. Even let's say 5 years ago, I would have never imagined I am where I am now. And thank you again, Kelley, for having me on the podcast and introducing me. I went from director of client experience to director of sales, and now recently also being a part of business development. Because when I take a look back in hindsight of the journey of where I've been in the many works that I've done with other people, it's always been about helping people get what they want. And being a part of Flourishing was interesting because I was in this in-between season of being in the wellness industry and then not really sure where I wanted to go. I worked at Samaritan's Purse seasonally for a little bit and just realized how much I love working by myself, yet I also love working with other people who are in alignment. So Abe and myself, we actually went to a same church many years, I think it was like, yeah, 10 to 12 years ago. And we met there and found out we work really well together. We worked on a fundraiser for the church and did very well there. And when he offered me a position to work with him, because at the time, 5 years ago, he was he's working pretty much by himself. He was part of a different coaching company. And I just need support because we're making a big difference in people's lives. So I joined the team. And then during the pandemic, there was a shift. There was a vision that Abe had for Flourishing with Certified Flourishing Coaching and Flourishing Workplace. And we could dive a little bit more into that later. Yet then he asked me to join the team. And at first I wasn't really sure if I wanted to work with him because he's such a self-disciplined individual. Like I see him as a super high performer. He's a man of integrity. He's very routine like, right? And I said, I don't know if I could work with someone that's such a high level leader. Yet then I said, hey, I'll give it a shot. And you know what? 5 years later, it's been amazing. We built this business during COVID. We're now global. We're in Australia. We're in Bangladesh, in Asia. We're all over the place in the United States. And it's been a blessing because we've been able to build that community of leaders to be able to support one another. And it's just grown into this whole movement of not looking and focusing on what's wrong, yet really what's strong with people.
Oh my gosh. I love that, Cynthia. And it's so amazing what you guys have created and what you're doing. And as you're speaking, I have a question for you because you saw something in Abe that you, by the sounds of it, doubted it a little bit in yourself that you had that. And I like to say there's something called the principle of reflection. So you could not have seen Abe as a high performer, as disciplined, as this top tier leader, if you are not one yourself. So possibly, because I think this is common in our journey of growth, is speak to when you were possibly doubting yourself, right? And then the shift you had to now believing in your potential. So like how you said, you want to see in other people their strength. When did you see it about yourself? Because honestly, you're showing up as a leader. You're showing up as the top tier leader. You're showing up disciplined. You're showing up as how you just described Abe. So are you aware of that? And when did you notice that, oh, hey, wait, I'm that person too?
Oh man, thanks for calling that out in me, Kelley. Amazing. And I think it's just this whole thing of imposter syndrome, right? We're so critical of ourselves. I'm so critical of myself at times. And about 5 years ago, I did feel that because I had the programming and it's still there. It still lingers. Like, who are you to do this? Who are you to come across this way? Who are you to help people? What do you know? And then I realized that's the question that keeps ringing in my mind. Yet when I chose to step out of that doubt, that imposter syndrome, still understanding it's still there, yet not allowing it to control the things that I choose to do, I was able to perform at my best. And every time I had a little bit of that doubt, and this is where relationship is so important with the people that you choose to work with. With Abe, he calls me to such a higher level. He calls me out on the stuff that doesn't serve me, yet that he challenges me in a healthy way. There's something called positive peer pressure, right?
Mhm.
Positively peer pressures me to do things that he sees in me that I don't see at myself. So when I first worked with him and when we transitioned and started creating this movement with flourishing, I was always in the back. I told myself I would never be someone who builds code and websites and all that because it's not my jam. Yet at the beginning, when you're an entrepreneur, and then also being an entrepreneur, helping someone build another business together, you just got to do what you got to do. So there were a lot of team members at that time who were very vocal, very out there, and everybody's knew their name. And there's me in the background. And there were times I'm like, man, I wish someone knew back here doing all this stuff, running the operations. Yet I understood that, again, it's a season. For season, I need to be doing this. And now I'm doing a lot more facilitation. I'm out there in the public, reaching more people. And that entrepreneur mindset, I think, is just so very much the same. Like I'm still building my own business as a coach, yet I'm also helping blow up this huge movement called flourishing because really than it's more than me, right? It's more than I can carry as one person. And so being an entrepreneur and building flourishing, it really means helping to lift up other people. And I think that's huge. And people think, oh, I cannot be a millionaire or I cannot become successful, whatever successful looks like to you, unless if I'm an entrepreneur. You know what? You can absolutely be successful. Many of the most richest people in the world in many different ways are entrepreneurs where they're building someone else's business as if it's their own.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm so curious because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who love the idea of entrepreneurship, yet it might actually just not be a fit for them because they work better, like you're talking about, in a team where you have the environment of entrepreneurship, yet you're still working for a business and then you're aligned with the vision and the dreams and the goals of that business. And so it's a way to almost have both, right? So I'm just curious, let's say there's people listening and they are entrepreneurs, yet they want to create an environment and a culture of people feeling empowered as an entrepreneur. What has Flourishing put in place? What are a few things that you've noticed have allowed you to step into that role?
I think it's being open and willing to start from the bottom, right? That's the biggest thing. People think, oh, if I want to be successful, I got to start at this level or this level. And they really think hierarchy versus how do I help keep things going no matter how it looks like, and understanding that my time will come when all these little things I've learned to master, right? Because when people go big, go fast, it's not a bad thing. Except the question is, if you go big and you go fast, how sustainable is it? Is it long term or is it going to be short term? And sadly, a lot of people who go big, go fast, and are flashy about it, it's like a fly by the night. They're a flash in the pan and then they're gone. And people are like, oh, where did that person go? Versus if we're willing to focus on the little things and build the foundation properly, then that's when it's more long term and sustainable. And that's what we provide with flourishing, right? We help people in a 4-step model, coaches and business folks of a 4-step model of how to build that solid foundation so that they can be long term and sustainable and do their business from anywhere should they choose to.
hmm do you mind just briefly sharing what's the model? What are the 4 steps or like just some tips if somebody wants to create a foundation that's going to last, right? Where like you have the long game in mind. What are a few of those things?
The first step is really to self excavate, right? You got to work on yourself because if there's things in myself that haven't dealt with, it could be past hurts, whether it's with business or personal or both, and I'm holding on to it, my business can only go so far, right? So that's the first step. The second step is then after working on self, because even though it's a continuous journey, It's then taking a look at how do I fill in any skill gaps? What are some skills that's missing in my toolbox for me to be able to build this business? And the third step then is to actually build the business, which is taking a look at what is my plan? What are my sales funnel? What are my value ladders? What am I going to offer my clients to help them solve the problem that they have? And then the fourth step is to take a look at, okay, what's been working when I launched my business and I built it, and then let's tweak and then let's scale. So in a nutshell, those are the four steps, yet as it all starts with self.
Yeah. It's almost you and I know a tool called the stages framework that I teach a lot. And as you're speaking, I'm like, right. Where it's like you get started and the first phase is to invest in yourself and your mindset and your skill set. So you can develop the skill and the confidence for growth. And then you get to that advanced stage where it's about transformation. And so as you're speaking, I'm like, I can totally see it. It's the same concepts. This is the thing I feel about business. Like it's simple, yet it's not easy, right? It's just being willing to do the work and understand that it is a long game. And I'm curious when it comes to leadership, because as you're speaking, and I know a lot of what you do is you teach leadership and you've been in a leadership role in every area of your life. You don't have to be in business to be a leader, right? You can be it's a leader of self. If you are a parent, you're a leader. If you're in community, you're a leader. And you also don't have to be in front of the room to be a leader. Like Sin, when you were talking about how you were doing things behind the scenes, that's still leadership because you showed up and you did what was expected of you and you kept your word and you did your best and all those principles. What would you say are some principles of leadership that have had an impact on you and that you carried through to today?
I think we mentioned it, keeping my word, right? Integrity. And I think if we build a business that's not based off the foundation of being honest, keeping our word, and knowing that our word is our bond, we wouldn't be here. Most businesses fail in the first year, 2 years. And in any new business, the first 5 years is the toughest. And I truly believe that if Abe, myself, and our core team and our members didn't come from a place of integrity, we wouldn't be here. And were there times where we had folks that maybe came and was a flash in the pan or maybe was there for a little bit and then left? Were there some breakdowns? Absolutely. Yet I think part of being in business and in leadership is knowing when to have these courageous conversations when things don't go right, when things aren't done properly. How do we have the courage to step in and say, hey, can we talk about this? Doesn't mean that with this breakdown afterwards, we have to be best friends. Yet let's just have a conversation, clean things up so we can both, or however many parties are involved, can move on and continue making a positive impact. And I think that's the thing too, is understanding in business and leadership, nothing is always rainbows and butterflies, right? There's always going to be challenges when it comes to relationships. And the most important thing is always come from integrity and owning. I've learned in leadership is owning what I need to own and understanding the things that I'm not meant to carry, and just allow the other person the grace to be able to work on that and to heal from whatever those breakdowns might be.
Yeah, no, great advice. And and I'm sitting here as you're speaking, part of your message around meaningful conversations and courageous conversations. I feel as a leader, it's crucial to not avoid those and to actually lean in and address them, because the energy and the mindset and the thought process of the people you surround yourself with within your team and your business is going to be the direct relation of the result, right? And a lot of times there's just simple breakdowns that could be prevented from courageous conversations, and the speed of the leader, the speed of the pack. And so being willing to have that be a part of the environment, I think is so important. And I think a lot of people avoid it. I think because it's uncomfortable, right? Yet it's where growth happens. And so I love that you brought that up. When you talk about, I like what you said. I forget how you worded it. Yet you said you want to bring out the strength in people. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. So with flourishing, what we do, our model is really coming from a strength-based approach, right? Many times when you reach out for support, whether from a coach or a wellness practitioner, they're always like, hey, okay, what's wrong? Let's fix it. What's wrong? Let's fix it. Yet what I love about coaching our clients and also having our coaches who help other people is we have a science and evidence-based approach to support. And we have Dr. Wayne Hammond, who is our senior advisor, We're actually in partnership with Flourishing Life as well, who they provide an 88 questionnaire. It's called a Flourishing Life questionnaire. It's called FLQ. And that actually works with a 10 core competency model that is a scale where we can take a look at, hey, all these different areas in life, whether it's personal, mental, emotional, all that fun stuff that we hear about when we hear about neuroscience as well. After the 88 questions, it spits out what your top two strengths are, and then what your, I think, top two strengths, top two strengths, and the three areas to explore. And what we do as coaches, we use that FLQ, that Flourishing Life questionnaire, and take a look at, hey, client, this is what you're really good at. Let's focus on taking those strengths and applying it to your problem areas. And let's use that as a launch pad to help you get to the next level. I'm not saying we're ignorant to the things that aren't working, yet we truly believe that when we focus on what's right, the other areas will also increase as well. And so we don't always say, hey, what's going on? Let's go back and unpack a bunch of stuff. We might do that for a short period of time. Yet a lot of what we do with coaching is let's help you move forward and not get stuck in the past. And the tricky part too is understanding there are some clients who do need specialized support, whether it's from a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And the thing is not to just say, hey, go see them, and then maybe I'll work with you later. Sometimes I do have clients that work with a psychologist and then work with me at the same time because we're both focused on different areas.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And it's so true, right? What we focus on grows. And I think that because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs as well, and I think there's confusion with people around what they actually are good at, which is funny, right? Yet what are my strengths? What am I great at? Like really, truly the nuances of it, such that I can take that, and that might be the missing piece of the next level of growth because I'm spending 80% of my time over here, right? Which isn't where I excel. And what if I spend 80% of my time where I excel, where my gifts are, where I can step into my power and my strength? What would happen there? And so I think that's a really great message. And also too, just to focus on your future when going back to our mentors. And if you're listening to this, I think it's crucial to have a mentor, right? I used to just sound like my mentor in the beginning because I was learning and growing, and I would just sound like Charlie, right? Until I found my own voice and my own authenticity. And I think that's a great thing to model people who have the things that we desire. Yet he always used to say, what's important is where you're going and why, right? Like, where are you going and why? And then just how do you show up differently, investing in yourself every day to get there? One of my biggest lessons, and I'm curious about you, I'm 47. You just said you're going to be turning 45. I think if I'm being really transparent, for the last 3 or 4 years, besides this last year, I was not enjoying the journey. Like I was not enjoying the journey. And I don't know if this comes with time, with experience, with learning, with going through hardships and failure of what we would consider failure to look like and be. Yet it is one of my main missions is to really find joy on a daily basis and enjoy the journey while I'm working towards the things that I desire versus feeling like I'm not good enough yet because I haven't gotten to where I want to be. So what have you experienced about that, or what's your awareness around that now that you've been on the journey for a while as well?
But yeah, the process always sucks. What I've learned, right? The process always sucks especially when we're feeling the pressure that we put on ourselves and doing our best to live up to other people's expectations, not just our own. Yet this is why environment is so important. When we work through the tough things, when we work through the failures, when we work through the roadblocks and the imposter syndrome, and sometimes we feel like, am I going insane here? Like my mental health has gone downhill. What is going on? And that's why even having a coach even coaches need coaches, right? We need that wise counsel, that person who's not going to judge, except someone who's going to call you out on your stuff, yet hold you to a higher level and call you higher, because that's what's going to keep us going. Our why is going to help us get through the storms. Yet I think having that person to point out, hey, have you thought about what your controllables are? What are your non-controllables? What are things you can control? Or what are the things that's totally out of your control? And help to put things in perspective. That's huge. I know for myself, my journey has never been easy. And especially with a lot of recent health issues that's come up, like it sometimes does affect business life. Yet when we have that coach, when we have that community to say, hey, let's do this together. We got this. Not just you got this or I got this, is we got this. That's huge because, like you said, the strength is not just in the leader, it's also in the pack. And so when we have a community that we can lean on, none of us give up on the same day, which is so important.
To like, you take you everywhere, right? So it's not like it's just your business success is going to go one way and then your health another way and your family life another way. It's a package deal as well, right? So it's about elevating every area of our life, right? So that we can be fulfilled and have success and choose a success path in a way of what success means to you, Cynthia, and what success means to me, not what success means to the expectation of other people, which I also think is huge. I'm curious, if you were to look back and you were going to give yourself one piece of advice when you first got started that you could have carried with you throughout your journey, what would it be?
Interestingly enough, before I give you the answer, this was written at the Science Center. It was just like, what would you tell your younger self? And till this day, this still rings true, is trust yourself. Just trust yourself. That inner GPS, that inner intuition, it never leads you astray. And I look back in hindsight, how many times did I allow other voices to drown out my intuition and I allowed it to drown it out. So I made different decisions, different choices, and I've kicked myself in the butt after. And I said, why didn't I listen to myself? Why didn't I trust myself? Why did I allow other people's voices of telling me, what do you know? Who are you to do this? Or are you sure? Maybe you should. There's valid ways, like valid points that other people will bring and say, hey, maybe you should do this. And absolutely do your due diligence and your homework. Yet if your gut tells you something, that inner GPS, like never disregard it.
Yeah. I had on the podcast one of our other mentors, actually, Paul Sahota, the other day, and that was our entire conversation. He was talking about your intuition is your guidance system and how to trust it to make decisions. Yet the truth is, and he has a valid point, we weren't taught that. We weren't taught how to make decisions based on our intuition. And I agree with you. I'm doing a personal development course myself, and this was our whole, so funny it's coming up because it was our whole conversation on the hour and a half was how to tap into your intuition. And I think there's so much truth to that, Sin. So I'm curious, I have a few last questions, yet a couple things. So where can we find you? Where can we find you personally? And then where can we learn more about flourishing? And we're shooting this just transparently in December. So this will get released on December 24th. So happy December 24th, everybody. Yet what do you have coming up in January that people can tap into?
For sure. So you can find me at certifiedflourishingcoach.com for any coaching and all that. Anything to do with workplace culture and mental health in the workplace, it's flourishingworkplace.com. Yet for entrepreneurs and anybody, like you said, leadership, right? We have influencer formula coming up January 29th. There's early bird that's available. Yet if you go to influencerformula.com, there's a free ebook. You can also sign up for this 13-week course that's going to really help you map out what it means to be an influencer and how to create a bigger impact and income.
Oh my gosh, awesome. And I know you guys have phenomenal courses. I've been involved in your community. You guys really do have a true community where the goal is to create community and relationships and networking and elevate people and give people tools that can support their business and their practices and their families ultimately. And Sin, you're such a leader, and Abe is such a leader. Your entire crew is really true leaders. And I can speak to that from authenticity and experience. And so just so grateful to have you on here. I'm curious now that you're going into another chapter of your life. Happy early birthday, by the way. Hey, yeah, your birthday is coming up, the big old 45. What would you say now would be your version of success?
Really making a positive impact in every interaction that I make. For me, it's no longer about chasing the dollar. It's about who am I leaving better than when I found them.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. And okay, my podcast, the tagline is Unleashing Greatness Within. And so what would you say would be 3 things to support somebody in unleashing their inner greatness?
Don't compare yourself, enjoy the journey, and find the little things to be grateful for.
So true, right? Little wins stack up, definitely. Okay, last question. what would a call to action be that you would provide the listeners with today? So when they hop off here, what's something you would encourage them to implement this week?
Invest in yourself. Like we have influencer formula coming up. Yeah, invest in yourself. Go to failure2flourishing.com. There's a great online course there to help you start to discover yourself in different ways and just be grateful for yourself. So I think that would be it.
Awesome. You know what, Sin? I totally believe like we can never go wrong investing in ourselves and investing in other people. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful for you, for our friendship, for just the journeys we've been on. We can have a whole nother podcast just talking about our adventures. Just today we kept it very professional. Good
Yes.
job. But we also have a lot of fun together. And you're just such a good friend. And I just want to thank you for that. I appreciate you. I know that our lives weave in and out, yet I know energetically we're always there for each other, and just know that I'm there for you too. And I just appreciate your friendship. And thank you for being on my podcast. And we did it. Take 5, and we did it.
Thank you so much, Kelley. And thank you for inviting me on this podcast as well. And can I just share quickly too, you should be really proud of yourself of how far you've come in this journey, working through the unknowns, really making it work and helping so many women out there, women and men. I know you do so many workshops and masterminds and business builders. Like you're just so great at that. And I think that's where our alignment is being able to leave a legacy and leave people better than when we found them. So thanks for having me, and grateful for our friendship as well.
Oh my gosh. Thanks, Sin. Have an awesome day. Have a fabulous birthday. And let's just have an amazing 2025. Let's see what's in store for both of us and all of you listening. So thanks for being here, Sin, today.
Thanks. Take care.
I just wanted to take a minute and thank Cynthia for being on the podcast today. Just love her to pieces. She's such a sweetheart and a gem and really a true leader. And what's wonderful about Cynthia is she really does lead by shining the light on other people. That's one of her huge strengths as well. I didn't share that with her yet. It's totally my experience of her. And through our shares today, what I hope you get from today's episode is that leadership and entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship and just life in general is a journey. And to acknowledge yourself for wherever you're at in that journey, and to continue to keep your eye on the prize of where you're going and by when and why. Enjoy the journey as you're going through it and really focus on your investment in yourself and other people, and you will eventually get there. And so I hope today's episode, was valuable for you. I just love having my podcast, and I love it when I have people on that I know, I love, and I trust. And I'm hoping that you're getting value from listening in. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Go check out Flourishing Life Coaching. They have phenomenal programs for coaches and entrepreneurs and business men and women. And once again, just thanks for being here and thanks for listening. With love, greatness, and success, it's your host, Kelley Beveridge.